In the same vein, the political feud between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan of Kogi Central has intensified following her 6-month suspension from the Senate. Akpabio accused Akpoti-Uduaghan of traumatizing others with baseless allegations, while the Kogi lawmaker fired back, insisting she was not the first to accuse him of sexual harassment and calling for an independent investigation. Tensions between the two lawmakers erupted publicly 2 weeks ago during plenary when Akpoti-Uduaghan rejected a directive to relocate her seat, telling Akpabio she would not be intimidated. The dispute escalated when she appeared on a live television program the following day, repeating her allegations against the Senate president. Last week, the Senate, acting on a recommendation from its Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, suspended Akpoti-Uduaghan for 6 months. The decision has triggered widespread outrage, with rights groups and activists demanding a fair hearing for the embattled senator. Now, to discuss this, we're joined by a lawyer and a public affairs analyst, Vincent Ottaokpukpu. Hello, Vincent. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, a wonderful audience.
All right, Vincent, now let's hear from you. Do you think that the Senate has the legal authority to suspend a senator based on conduct during plenary? What precedent, exists for such actions?
Yes, thank you for the question. The purported suspension of Senator Natasha has provoked an exciting scholarship disputations, ranging from contentious issues and responses. Anywhere you go in the court of public opinion, newspaper stand, that is on the lips of every Nigerian. There is no authority on the part of the Senate to suspend a legislature validly elected by the people of Nigeria, whom the person seeks to represent. The Supreme Court and Nigerian judiciary, the 1999 Constitution frowns at it, and the such suspension, to all intent and purposes, is not only repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience, but incompatible with the provisions of the Constitution and the established principles of law, ranging from decided cases by the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal, which forms part of sources of law in Nigeria. Section 4, subsection 8 of the 1999 Constitution provides, save as provided in this Constitution, the exercise of legislative powers of National Assembly or State Assembly shall be subject to the jurisdiction of the court, as the case may be. So the court has the power to conduct inquiry, and whatever they do in the National Assembly is subject to legislative powers of the court. Now, the Supreme Court of Nigeria and the Court of Appeal, in litany and cornucopia of cases, have handled situation of this and pronounced the absence of authority, legislative competence, and legislative powers of the National Assembly, be it Senate of Assembly or a representative, to suspend a legislative member. In the case of Dino Malaya versus Senate of the National Assembly, remember there was he was suspended and he approached the court. The Court of Appeal held in a unanimous decision that the National Assembly lacks the power, the Senate, to suspend the senator outside the due process of the law as outlined under the rules of the Assembly, of the Senate. In the case of Alain Dume versus Senate of National Assembly, it's also the court brought to bear their characteristics, industry, and excellent scholarship in pronouncing and reaffirming and reiterating the powers of the National Assembly and the Senate per se lacks the power to suspend a member validly elected by the people for a period exceeding 14 days. Because in that case, it was also suspended for 6 months. Yeah. The court pronounced and said that the power does not belong to the National Assembly. Then you have the case of Babo, Elisha, that is the sex toy case, as the case may be, against the Senate of National Assembly. It was also suspended. I went to court. The same principle was pronounced. Then of them all was the case of Omo Agege versus Senate of National Assembly. Remember the issue of getting the talks to attack the National Assembly and snatching the maize and all those stuff. The matter traveled to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court reiterated this position that the power to suspend does not lie in National Assembly. Yes, you can exercise your disciplinary action against a member for erring or wanting or the other, but that does not include suspending the person up to the point of 6 months. You can suspend for 14 days, as the case may be. But moreover, you cannot even suspend because the man is not your employee. The man is a representative of the people. When you suspend him, you are denying his constituent and people that have validly elected him the right to be represented, which is constitutionally granted. The recent case of Speaker Bauchi State of House of Assembly versus Honorable Vincent is a clear case of where the court have demonstrated this principle and said that is.
If you can hear me, Vincent,
maybe was suspended.
If you can hear me, with all that you've said, they have no authority to suspend because the senator was elected by the people. Could Senator Natasha challenge her suspension in court? Is it possible? And on what legal grounds would she be able to do that?
Yes, Section 46 of the 1999 Constitution says that he who feels his right has been infringed or is likely to be infringed should approach the court for redress. He has right to represent his people, which is a constitutionally granted right. And nobody, by Senate or by their rules or by proceedings or whatever accusation, can deprive her of such constitutional rights that belongs to her. Now, beyond this point, I've started Section 4, Sub 8, that have given the court power to conduct inquiry over all legislative actions and activities, as the case may be. The Senator Natasha has a right to approach court, and you know that a matter has been filed. She has filed a matter in court against the Senate President, Senate of National Assembly, Chairman of the Ethics and the Privileges Committee, and the court gave an order stopping the National Assembly or the Senate from proceeding with any disciplinary action against Senator Natasha. But they disobeyed the court in flagrant disobedience to the court order and went ahead to suspend it. We have always said that in a democracy like ours, rule of law must triumph not only in our legal system but in our body politics. Parties to litigation must accept the decision of the court and orders of court in good faith, subject only to appeal processes available in law. And no party should employ self-help to disparage or disrespect the order of the court. Natasha has the right to approach court because his right has been infringed, and the court has said that if the plaintiff has a right like Natasha, he must have a means to vindicate it and remedy. If he is injured in the exercise or enjoyment of his right, for want of right and want of remedy are reciprocal. Like we say in our judicial palace, ibi jus, ibi remedium. Where there is right, there is remedy. So the right to represent his people is granted. The right to have to punish her without being heard is also granted by the Constitution. She can approach the court, which I know she has done, to ventilate his anger. And I know the court will award damages and remedies as the case may be.
Okay. Now, so what about the Senate Ethics Committee distancing itself from sexual harassment allegations against the Senate President Akpabio? Do you have any thoughts on that, or are there implications to them distancing themselves from that?
It is quite it has no legal value. It has no legal basis. If they distance themselves, it has no justification. It has no legal effect whatsoever. The deed has been done. They have carried out the action. They quickly, purportedly conducted an inquiry without the person accused represented by a lawyer of his choice or by herself, as granted by Section 36 of the Constitution, which says, in the determination of civil right and obligation, a person shall be granted right to free hearing within a reasonable time by any authority or passive court, anybody exercising judicial function. She was not accorded that right. So they cannot distance themselves. It's an afterthought. It's a mere statement of fact, does not have any value in law. The fact remains that she was suspended in flagrant disobedience to the provisions of the Constitution. The Senate itself violated their rules Yes, I appreciate that the standing rule 40 sub 4 of the rules of the Senate says that she cannot sign petition by herself, which she went back and represented another petition signed by another fellow. That also activates the of the committee to conduct inquiry on that petition. Now, the Senate also violated their standing rule 41 sub 7, which says when a matter is pending in court, that the Senate shall not conduct inquiry or even take any action to discipline member when such inquiry or actions have been pending in court. Especially when there is a pending court order that have stopped them from proceeding, but they disobey the court order in a flagrant disobedience to our democracy and constitutional democracy and rule of law, and proceeded to punish the fellow without recourse to judicial power and separation powers as enshrined in section 4, section 5, and section 6 of the Constitution, the right of the legislative powers, executive power, and judicial power established by the Constitution. So their statement is not of no moment. It has no legal value and does not enjoy any popularity.
All right, Vincent, but does this case raise concerns about, gender-based discrimination or even retaliation in legislative bodies?
Yes, we begin to question, like yesterday, globally we celebrated International Women's Day. It is a day assigned to celebrate our mothers, our sisters, our aunties, the senators there, including Senator Natasha. So this also raises the question as to the place of women in Nigerian politics. If their voice can be cowed, if their voice can be suppressed, if their voice can be relegated to the background in a hollow chamber that is protected and established by law, what we have to say again? How much more the right of a market woman, the Wuse market, if such right can be denied to an elected senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, how much more the market women? So it leaves much to be desired that in a century where we are celebrating women globally, and where other countries have gone beyond where we are, to where women are, occupying sensitive position in the World Trade Organization, and United Nations sensitive offices by women from Nigeria here, and back home here, we have women being denied their right to even air their view, even air their what have you. Yes, sexual harassment allegation is there. If you feel that you have been accused wrongly or that you have been defamed, approach a court that says that I have defended my character and what have you. Then open up a discussion, open up a hearing where she will be able to ventilate her grievances. The Senate President was also, let me digress a bit, sorry. The Senate President is also acting as a judge in his own case. The principles of Nemo Judas and Casa Sua and Ordre Trempaten, which is the two pillars of justice established by the court, which means Nemo Judas and Casa Sua, you cannot be a judge in your own case, and Ordre Trempaten hear the both sides. This principle was established in the case of our guest Chancellor University of Cambridge by Lord Fatungun, that in the old age, which Supreme Court of Nigeria have adopted. And the judge said, I remember that I've had it observed by the learned man upon such occasion that even God did not pass descent upon Adam. For God said, Adam, why have you eaten the forbidden fruit? God, as omniscient, knew what Adam did was wrong. I have seen it. But God was calling Adam. God was calling Adam to be heard, to air his view, to say to cover his defense. So the Senate President.
All right, Vincent. Well, time is not on our side at the moment, Vincent. Well, thank you so much for taking your time and for speaking on this.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.